Hey there. So we want to keep you guys sort of updated on where we're at with our home design. So in our class that we just took with Yestermorrow, they taught us how to do a bubble diagram of really anything we're designing. In fact, with our kitchen and bath design class, we did bubble diagrams of the kitchen and then our possible bathroom. So this one here is the bubble diagram of our site. Looking at this, you got the house. We want to have a hot tub, patio. We'll have a garage on the site, and that garage will have a wood shop and hold our cars and such. It shows the driveway, play area for our grandkids, garden, fruit trees, and Lauren's wood mill and kiln. So this is sort of more of a scale drawing of the actual site. And we took the information that we got from the MLS listing, the actual plot that we own, and we developed a scale drawing of it. And if you look there, that's the septic that we have already figured out where we're going to have placement for. And we are going to be putting the house and the garage around that. So notice that's an actual picture of our land, which you guys will recognize, because they really want us to look at the topography, be really aware of how many trees we're going to have to come down, take down, what the rocks are like on the property, et cetera. So it's really important to really understand and know what you're dealing with on the land.
This picture is the same site plan we were just looking at. You can see the septic leach field and the sort of curved line, which is the rectangles there. The sort of arcing curved line just north of that just shows the 20-foot boundary that we have to keep between the leach field and our house. The sort of longer squiggly lines are contour lines that just sort of approximate the contour of the land and just indicate, show that the land slopes sort of gently downhill to the southwest. So we get pretty good solar exposure on the land. These two diagrams show the angles of sunrise and sunset on the winter solstice and the summer solstice. Being in Maine, I mean, we're not in the Arctic, obviously, but we're far enough north that the winter days are much shorter than the summer days, and the amount of sun we get is much less. Which obviously I knew, but producing these pictures really dramatized it. It was really kind of surprising. A quick note, keep in mind, when we show you later slides, later pictures of the floor plan, and note that at this stage of our planning, when we produced these pictures, we were still planning for the house to be a simple rectangle. And the garage was expected to be just due east of the house. I think I have those arranged, assuming that the front of the garage and the front of the house would form a straight line, which I think is what we had in mind. Later on, we'll see that that's no longer the case.
In class, we were taught to look at the, how the sun falls throughout the year and during each day, but also to look at the wind direction, the predominant wind direction and speed. If we were on the coast, like literally with our house against the sea, we would definitely have more wind, and it would be much more volatile, and we'd really have to make more considerations. But because we're inland more, and you see here that the wind blows from north or west or south throughout the year, and it's really no more than 10 miles per hour. It's pretty minimal. So that's really not going to be anything we're going to have to safeguard against. Having structures like, for instance, the garage in front of our house will maybe keep the entrance to our house a bit more protected and not have to really worry about the wind blowing in rain or snow during the storms. But it was really good for us to see that this is not something that we're going to have to really worry about. So bubble diagram of our house. We've had a lot of conversations. One of the things Lauren and I will say, like, when we build our house, we're gonna have a dishwasher. We're gonna have room for 2 of us in the kitchen. We're gonna have, so it's sort of it's been fun, but putting it down on paper has been really powerful because we could see what our values are. um, Having a laundry room and a bath is one thing, but having it in proximity to our bedroom and the living space, that's an interesting choice, right? All these are choices. And we're starting from scratch. Like, we could decide whatever we'd like to have. So if you see here, we've got, this is actually just one layer too, because we do have 2 bedrooms that are going to be on our 2nd floor that are not in this diagram. But it's been really fun, especially the living space. If any of you guys have been over to celebrate with us before COVID, especially over in Central Falls, like, gosh, that space, boy, was that fun. So we're modeling our home after that space, and the space of the kitchen that extends into the living area, and then being able to talk around the island and cook and laugh. Like, that's really what's influenced us the most with building this house. And you'll see that here in the diagram, and that's what we're carrying through. We're also going to have some porch and lots of windows that are going to oversee the front of the house, because we want the outdoor to extend into the house, especially during the winter in the cold months. So it's pretty powerful. So we're both going to talk about this. This is the floor plan of the house. So I'll have Lauren start because he's the one who drafted the floor plan.
Yeah, we took this home design class and learned a little bit about making, drawing floor plans and sections, and using T-squares and angles, and it was a lot of fun. Pretty time consuming, but it was a lot of fun to produce this. This is not a finished or a final floor plan by any means, but it's a serious attempt at producing a final floor plan. I think we will end up with something that is like this. One thing I'll point out is that it's no longer a simple rectangle. During the course of the class, the instructors emphasize the importance of letting in eastern morning sun, which makes sense. And you also want to let in the morning sun from the east, but block afternoon sun, which can get, in the summer, be very too hot. So we now have the house staggered so that the section on the right is moved sort of north, and the section on the left or west is shifted south. And we've added a couple of small sunrooms in each of those corners to provide sort of like an airlock, so that you don't open the interior door right to the outside. You go out into a sunroom and then outside.
So we had made these little pieces of possible furniture because it's important to see how life will play out with our designing. One of our conversations was about bed size. So in our master bedroom, we, by scale, created a little, piece of paper that represented our queen size bed. And it didn't fit in the room because of where the beams are and the doorway, and now the stairs, which we'll talk about in a second. So then we had to decide, well, let's just stick with a full size bed, and that actually fits in that space. So it's super. Actually, we were remarking about on this, the couch there in the living space is actually blocking a door, so we didn't even notice that until just now. But yeah, it's super important to see, is the space that we're creating going to actually work? They also mention, going and looking at the dimensions of a kitchen sink, of a refrigerator, of a stove and dishwasher, because what if it's just too much bigger than the space that we're creating? So it's really important to look at all those dimensions and see how they play out in real life. So you see the feng shui diagram up there. Many of you guys who know me, I was really surprised to see this was a part of our class. Like, it's really important to consider energy flow, and having two doors on opposite sides of a space really makes the energy escape. It comes in one door and out the other. And our teacher remarked that, imagine a cat, like a cat is in the home, and where's that cat going to be drawn or gravitate towards? And that's sort of how the energy can flow through a house as well. So if we were to have a cat come in the door and go right out the other door, that's an example of just kind of, you know, seeing how it actually would come into effect. Like having a spiral staircase going up, that would totally, attract a cat, and they would go right up the stairs. But it's not always best thing for the energy. So that's been an interesting discussion. And having, you'll see the little white rectangle with the green circles. That's actually a biophilia wall that we're thinking about creating. Maybe it could be mobile on wheels, and we can move it around depending on how we want to create the space in the living room. But having that to sort of block the energy coming through, we're playing with that idea. Also in our bedroom, having the bed underneath beams, it's kind of been written that having a beam right overhead can affect sleep, can affect health. We can, so it's just different ways of talking. And again, we're starting from scratch. So if we can create our home in the most healthy way as possible, then why not? So it's been really fun.
This is a section through the floor plan. This is section A. Let me just go back to the floor plan. You can see there's a line through the kitchen, sunroom, near the pantry. There's with the triangles at the top and bottom labeled A. So this section is a view looking west of the section through the house at line A in the floor plan. So you can see the kitchen in the middle. There's an island there. I don't know, you can sort of see that there's an island there. You can, to the right of the kitchen island is a door to the west bedrooms. On the left side of this picture, you can see a sunroom, and there's a couch in the sunroom where on warm sunny days you can relax. Interestingly, there's windows in the wall above the couch, but in fact, that's a wall into a bedroom. So we're not going to want windows there at all. The whole exercise of making all these drawings and then reviewing them is educational. It's eye-opening. Another thing I'll point out is on the right-hand side, there's a pantry and then utility space. We're not going to have a basement, so all of our utilities are, water heaters and all that stuff needs to be in the house somewhere. So there will be a utility space on the north side where we don't really want to have windows anyway for mechanicals. Another thing I'll point out is you can see the thick walls and the thick roof. This will be a super insulated house, so the walls will be a foot thick or more, and the roof will be over a foot thick. We're not going to be doing a passive house exactly, but I think our insulation and our goal will be to sort of get to passive house standards, which is a pretty tight, pretty well insulated house. Final thing I'll mention here is this foundation. We're going to use a frost protected shallow foundation. So that's basically a cement slab that has thickened edges and for strength, and the slab is insulated. So it's not drawn here, but there will be 4 to 6 inches of insulation under the slab. And also there will be insulation at that same level underground, extending several feet out to the side, all the way around the house, forming a sort of apron that keeps frost in the winter from freezing the ground underneath the house. So the ground underneath the house will never freeze. So we don't have to worry about digging a deep foundation to protect the house.
If you look above the kitchen area there, that line, that's not a ceiling, that is a beam. So we are building a timber frame house, and we're going to be using these large timbers and creating the framework. We talked about having a drop ceiling, especially when we were thinking about what we're going to do with the exhaust fan. How are we going to attach that above our freestanding stove? But we were thinking about having the open ceiling. And so if you look at that triangle, I think it's a right triangle. This, if you look above, if you're standing at the island and look up, you're going to see that tip there. But there is an interesting choice that we made, is that, so you see the actual triangle there. There's sort of like a lost triangle off to the right there, like an isosceles triangle. That's going to probably just be dead. No.
It's not an isosceles triangle.
Oh, okay. So anyway, it's going to be dead space. So those are like weird choices. Like, we wanted to have it all open, and we thought, no, we really want to keep it symmetrical and have that, the appearance look really, nice when you're looking up and having that open space. And we didn't want to do the drop ceiling, even though it would help facilitate getting an exhaust fan, positioned properly above our stove. So, it's like, it looks a little different from this section here, but we're trying to think about what's it going to look like when we're in the house.
Another thing we talked about in our design class that was interesting is the importance of planning for stairs. I've been thinking about this house in various incarnations for years, and I've drawn different versions of it in different ways, but I'd never bothered to draw in any stairs. And it turns out stairs take up a fair amount of space, and we just hadn't accounted for that. So the process of drawing stairs that are safe and comfortable to use and accessible it was surprisingly challenging. It was a good exercise to go through, and it was rewarding to finally come up with plans for stairs that actually work in the space and function properly.
Yeah, because we're starting this project a bit older, and we want to stay in this house, for about 30 more years, and we're not going to want a ladder stairway. We're not going to want a spiral staircase. And if we're going to be carrying things up to top floor, we're not going to want a stairway that's going to have, too many churns. So, thinking about now and also thinking about our future is really important. For the bedroom stairway, if you're remembering back at the floor plan, we didn't know if we wanted to have the stairway just in our bedroom or have it accessible from the living space. Who's going to access the top floor, the loft? So it's a lot, and it takes up, like Lauren said, a ton of space. And it can be artistic, but does the art of a staircase really is it functional? So it's a lot of very interesting. Oh, the mass model. So some of you guys saw us do these a couple weeks ago, and this is to scale. This is a scale model. Mass model means its basic structure. Soon we're going to be making some models that are more detailed, that show the timber frames, the floors, the sections of each room. But for now, this is just so we can see how it's going to look. And it's staggered. So again, it's no longer the rectangle, but it's the different pieces of the house. And here it is compared to one of the sections. I actually used the section to measure the cardboard and the foam. And I chose the foam there to also, to kind of bring more focus to the installation that Lauren's going to be creating there. And it's very valuable, and having us be able to see it just helps to remind us of the fact that this house is going to be as close to zero net energy as possible. Oh, zero net energy, that's really interesting. So we're not going to really know for a full year how well our house is insulated and how well we're powering up our house. So zero net is over the course of a year, and we really want to try and be as close to zero as possible. And from what we think we're going to be using the house and using energy for now, we might be surprised in a year from after living in the home. We might be consuming more than we expected. So it's going to be a work in progress. It's just going to be trying to always be aware of what we're using and spending and how we want to conserve.
Our plan for the project is we're actually going to start building the garage first, in part so that we can have space to work while we're doing the work to build the house. As Debbie mentioned, it's going to be a timber frame house and a timber frame garage, so we're going to need space to work cutting timbers for the house. And our plan is to build the garage this year and have it weathered in before winter, and then over the winter can use the space to be cutting timbers, preparing timbers to build the house next year. So this is not our timber frame garage. It is a representation of a timber frame garage similar to what we'll be building.
And a shout out to the Shelter Institute from Maine. We took a class with them. I don't know, it's probably the beginning of COVID, I think. And part of the class, we were given the plans for this structure. So we've already got the plans, which includes the sections. It includes the length of the beams. And so we're pretty much set for that. We don't really have to do much more than trying to execute what kind of like we've already been given, the instructions have already been given. So, but there's a lot of discussion about what's going to be the inside and where's the carport, and where we want to have a utility sink downstairs. Where's that going to go? Because when you put a foundation, you have to put space for your plumbing right away. Can't do that after the foundation has been poured. And we want a bathroom. It's going to be upstairs, it's going to be downstairs. And so all these choices, and even stairway, like we're just talking about, we're going to be putting the stairs probably on the exterior of the house. It'll be enclosed.
Of the garage.
Oh, sorry, the garage. It'll be enclosed, but it fit best outside of the garage. And yeah, so lots of decisions and a lot of discussion. And Lauren's been using SketchUp, which we don't have in this program here, but we'll show you that another time. It's just another way of showing the sections and the plans for a home. And also it's for scale. So it's been really, really, like Lauren said, very educational, and we're gonna have a lot more decisions to make, that's for sure. So yeah, that's it. So I guess we'll finish up. That's where we're at. And yeah, this has been great. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.